Eisenhower Medical Center in Rancho Mirage, California. That's where Caray was rushed Saturday night after falling in a restaurant. His prognosis for a full recovery was considered poor. Terry Hillard is mayor of this.
On behalf of the family, we're saddened to report that Mr. Harry Caray died this afternoon at 4:10 p.m. from ventricular fibrillation resulting in ischemic encephalopathy. In lay language, that's cardiac arrest with resultant brain damage.
The announcement we've all been dreading since late Saturday night. Legendary Cubs broadcaster Harry Caray is gone. Hello, everyone. I'm Rob Goldman. This is a special edition of Sports Page. We're calling it Remembering Harry, a tribute to the Hall of Fame broadcaster who passed away this evening at the age of 78. Over the course of the next hour, we'll play some tributes from various people in and out of the business on what Harry meant to them. And, of course, we'll open up our phone lines and invite you to call in and tell us what Harry Caray meant to you. Harry Caray was a legend among broadcasters. His passing is felt by those who knew him and those who only knew of him. The scene this evening at Harry Caray's restaurant downtown. Soon after customers were informed that Harry had passed away, they lifted a cold one in his honor and sang his traditional "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." There were tears, to be sure. He meant so much to so many people. Harry had been hospitalized since late Saturday night after falling ill at a nightclub while out to dinner with his wife, Dutchie. Reaction has been coming in from all across the country to Harry's passing, but we begin in Arizona at the Cubs camp.
Not only does Harry mean a lot to this organization, he means a lot to the game of baseball and really to America and Americana. He's really beyond words in terms of the impact he has on people's lives. And, you know, we're going to miss him very much. We were just inside watching a synopsis of his life on WGN, and one minute we're laughing, the next minute we're crying, and it's really been a heck of a run for Harry, and just an amazing human being.
One time we brought in 34 different people to fill the void when he had a stroke in '87, and that was a unique experience, but we always anticipated when Harry would return, and that happened on May 19th. And the second time was when Harry had the physical problem in Florida, and we just filled in the void until Harry came back, and that pretty much has marked my association with him, the fact that regardless of what happened to him, we knew Harry would be back, and when he was, he would fill that seat that's rightfully his behind the microphone as the voice of the Chicago Cubs. At this point, nobody is too certain when or if that will happen, and I think that kind of puts a little bit of a dark cloud over spring training 1998.
It certainly is, and comes this statement from White Sox owner Jerry Reinsdorf. Harry Caray's death is called a tragedy. He was a tremendous ambassador for the game of baseball in the city of Chicago. Millions of fans fell in love with the game by listening to his colorful broadcasts of Cardinals, A's, Sox, and Cubs ball games over the years. Our sympathies and thoughts go out to his entire family at this time. Mike Monsoor now has a look back at the life and times of Harry Caray.
Harry Caray was born Harry Christopher Carabina on March 1st, 1920. He grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, in one of the city's poorest neighborhoods. Caray's childhood was anything but easy. His father died when he was an infant. His mother passed away when he was 10, leaving his aunt to raise him. His love for baseball started early on. He played the game at the semi-pro level for a short time before auditioning for a radio job at the age of 19. Caray spent a few years learning the trade at radio stations in Joliet and Kalamazoo, Michigan. He did play-by-play for the St. Louis Hawks professional basketball team, now the Atlanta Hawks, the University of Missouri football team, and he announced 3 Cotton Bowl games. But Caray's national fame came from covering the St. Louis Cardinals from 1945 to 1969. During that time, he was named Baseball Announcer of the Year 7 years in a row by the Sporting News. After spending a quarter of a century in St. Louis, Caray moved to California to announce the Oakland A's games on television and radio during the 1970 season. The following year, Caray came to Chicago to become the radio-television voice for the Chicago White Sox, a position he held until 1981. In 1982, Caray became the voice of the Chicago Cubs on WGN-TV and WGN Radio. His tell-it-like-it-is style of broadcasting became as synonymous with the team as the ivy covering the outfield wall in Wrigley Field. Caray was perhaps best recognized for his famous exclamation, "Holy cow!" He was also known for his oversized glasses and his tradition of singing, "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," during the 7th inning stretch. Caray had not missed an opening day pitch in 41 years, but was absent from the booth for the preseason and more than a month of regular season in 1987 after suffering a stroke. He overcame paralysis and speech difficulty to resume his play-by-play work 3 months later. Caray reached a major milestone on July 23, 1989, when he received the Ford Frick Award at the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, an award that recognizes excellence in baseball broadcasting. Later that same year, he was inducted into the American Sportscasters Association Hall of Fame. Caray marked his 50th anniversary as a sportscaster in 1994. In the spring of that year, he was awarded the National Association of Broadcasters Hall of Fame Award. Harry Caray was 78 years old.
Sports Page is brought to you by... Harry represents Chicago and baseball and sports, and he was with the White Sox for many years, and of course the Cubs, and he's really part of Chicago. And to me, our prayers are with his family. We hope that there is a recovery, and because he's really, he makes sports not a sport of millionaires and billionaires. Harry could always sign someone's autograph, always said hello to people. He just had a feeling that he was there with the public, whether it's, regardless of who the fans were, he was always there. So he signed an autograph, said hello to you, had a beer with you, he did a lot of things. And so he was a passionate individual that really made sports more personal as compared to the millionaire players sometimes are unfortunately detached from the public. But Harry always had a connect for baseball.
Mayor Daley, that was earlier today, a couple of hours, in fact, before the passing of Harry Caray. And remembering Harry tonight, a special edition of Sports Page. We invite you to call up and tell us what Harry Caray meant to you, some of the special things that you might remember when you think back about the life and times of Harry Caray. We want to go to the phone lines right now and join John McDonough. He's the Vice President of Marketing and Broadcasting with the Cubs. He's been on our air a number of times over the past few years, and no matter, I guess, how much you prepare for something like this, John, it's just it's difficult when it finally happens.
You know, Rob, it's just devastating. I think, you know, everybody's just overwhelmed with it. You know, it tells you that if Harry is mortal, I guess the rest of us are too, because we just felt he was, you know, he was indestructible. You know, he had been through ordeals before, maybe not this serious, but he certainly has, you know, has had his share of tough luck, but this is just a really sad evening for everybody.
Yeah, we talked at the Cubs convention. He seemed to be in remarkably good spirits, and I know there was even talk in the past couple of weeks, the last couple of days, that he had talked about even going on some road trips this year, had he not?
He did. He had talked about, I think he really wanted to go to Milwaukee. He was very excited that they were back in the National League, and I think he was just ecstatic. He was thrilled over the hiring of Chip, that he would be able to pass the torch to, you know, his grandson. And, you know, really, he would be able to anoint him as the heir apparent. And I think he looked forward to doing that. And it's just tragic that that's not going to be able to happen.
As the Vice President in marketing there, and we've talked and even kidded a little bit about Harry as more beloved maybe than the team he covered, and you probably would take tons of phone calls. I mean, people talking as much about Harry as they would the team. They'd probably ask you questions.
Well, you know, Harry is, you know, the one thing that I've learned over the years is Harry is, and I heard a piece from Mark Grace today, and it's really true, and he said it's Harry Caray and the rest of us, and it's true. I mean, Harry Caray is just not. He's not an individual. He was an individual. Harry Caray is a lifestyle. When you think about him, you think about a guy who's got this gregarious personality. And really, Rob, how many people do we know that really played by their own rules their entire life and were a champion? They came out a champion. And, you know, we marketed Harry, we marketed Wrigley Field, and it was such a dynamic combination because, you know, Harry kind of validated every game, whether the team was up by 8 runs or down or close game. And, you know, you'll always hear that crescendo, the let's get some runs. But the fact that, you know, that Harry did what he did in the 7th inning to take me out to the ball game, it really, you know, it really made people say this is the real thing. It brought kids to the ballpark. He was almost like a one-man tourist attraction.
He was, and I know you deal with so many different broadcasters, and you talk with different teams around the league. And a guy in Harry's status could easily have had a huge ego and been difficult to work with, but complete opposite of that, this guy was.
He's fun. He was fun. He was just a fun guy to be around, and he was just a social Olympian. He was a guy that he squeezed more out of life than anyone that you'll ever meet, and something that has to be very rewarding, Rob, for you in all humility. I remember getting a call from Harry. I remember this distinctly. This might have been sometime during the season or shortly thereafter. And I got a call from Harry, and he wanted to know about you. He asked me about, he had been watching CLTV and curious about the broadcast, and he was really an admirer of the work that you had done. And I know the two of you connected and talked about it for a while, and we chatted, but I know that's got to make you feel very good.
Yeah, it was a surprise. I got a letter in the mail with the Holy Cow sunglasses, a Holy Cow stationery on the back of it, and gave you a call and said, is this for real? I couldn't believe it. And then we got a piece of tape we'll show later in the show from Cubs convention that we walked up with the cameras rolling, and he was just as kind and as complimentary as could be, and it meant an awful lot.
Well, one thing you can go to the bank on, Rob, that if he said it, he meant it. Because this guy, it was absolutely real. Everything, there was nothing orchestrated, there was nothing contrived. And that's what, I think that was what the great connection was, that we felt every day, that whether it's a compliment or a contradiction, you can believe it came from the heart.
I know there's been different slogans, we're working on it, and things like that with the rebuilding and the new regime. How about this year, just do it for Harry?
Well, we have some, we've talked about some things over the last few days, and we have scheduled, Rob, on August 2nd, we're having a Harry Caray Day, and we have plans to go ahead with that, full speed ahead with that day, and it's going to be a great tribute. And there are other things that we have in the works, and I can assure you that the 1998 season will be dedicated to Harry Caray.
Have you had a chance to talk to any of the players or anybody out there in Arizona since the news broke a few hours ago?
Not since the news broke. I talked to Ed Lynch. I talked to Ed Lynch this afternoon. I talked to Dutchie Carey this morning. And it really, the entire morning, it was just so somber around there. It was very difficult to work because you had the feeling that now this is really inevitable. This is no longer fiction. This is no longer surreal. This might actually happen. And then tonight when we got the news and my wife had seen it on CLTV, you just devastated. And I know that the players are, and maybe the most interesting thing, Rob, is that people talk about players and they talk about the egos and self-centered players. These players realize that Harry is the show. They realize that we're all kind of actors in this play, but this guy is actually the star. And I can't think of another broadcaster anywhere. This guy was an entertainer, and he was maybe the only dual-purpose broadcaster in the history of sports that people actually, the WGN-TV and probably CLTV realized rating points from him, and he absolutely brought people to the park.
There's no question about that. One of the things, I heard a caller today when I was driving in, and I thought it was pretty apropos, and she was mentioning that maybe it was some sort of divine intervention or something like that brought Chip Caray to you, that the Caray tradition will live on at Wrigley Field.
Well, I'm not sure if it was divine intervention. I think this had been something that
Harry wanted it.
Yeah, it's really how he wanted it, and we thought it was just fitting. It was very, very appropriate, and I think this is something that's just important in conversations with Chip over the last couple months. I think he has a pretty good handle on the enormity of all this, on how big coming in here and working at the time. He was talking about working with his grandfather, but I think that he's going to be pretty overwhelmed by it all. And I think in the next couple weeks, this is going to be the story, and and really, it's the day the music died at Wrigley Field.
One last note, and I don't know if it's obviously way too early to think about things, an opening day tribute. Does this even go through your department? I don't know, insignias, some sort of patches
Right.
in the uniforms this year would be a consideration too?
Well, Rob, we've talked about that internally at Wrigley Field, and I can guarantee you that things along those lines are very topical right now. And we're going to do this right. We're going to do it in a very, very dignified way, very tasteful, and in a way that I think when Harry sees what the organization is going to do, I mean, he's going to give us another holy cow.
John, I appreciate you joining us for a few moments here on Sports Page. I know it's a very difficult times for you and the Cubs organization, and do appreciate you taking a few moments to
My
spend
pleasure,
with us
Rob. Thank you.
here on Sports Page. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
That's John McDonough, the VP of Marketing and Broadcasting with the Cubs. He's the best in the business, and it's a difficult time. I do appreciate him joining us. We'll take a break right now. We'll come back more remembering Harry, more tributes, and your calls and comments as well about what Harry Caray meant to you. Back in a moment.
With a single to left, and the Cubs have won the season's opener.
We'll play some of Harry calls from the past seasons throughout the course of tonight's show for you, and I know you'll enjoy listening to that. We want to hit your phone calls as well, and we'll have some other tributes as well during the course of this show. And we're going to stay on until 10:30 this evening, a special edition 90 minutes of Sports Page, because I know the phone lines are lighting up. People want to talk and share some of their favorite stories and favorite memories of Harry Caray. Let's go out to Valerie in Tinley Park. Hi, Valerie.
Good evening. It's a really sad time. That was a one-of-a-kind. We never saw his like before. You'll never see it again. He made us laugh so many times, and once he made me cry. He was doing a White Sox game, and he was singing Take Me Out to the Ball Game.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, and it's root, root, root for the Cardinals. And it just touched my heart. You know, here, through circumstances, whatever they were, he should have worked for the Cardinals all his life in his hometown. Didn't work out that way, but he never missed a beat. He just went right on. And the thing I think I loved about him more than anything else was that whatever he thought, he said it.
Yep.
He wouldn't say, gee, that's a close one. Well, you make the call. He said, boy, did the official blow that one.
He outspoken oftentimes against his own organization, not afraid to tell it like it was.
You know, I think all these tributes will be seen on all of the stations. How many sportscasters can say that? They come and they go, and nobody misses them. Everyone will miss him, and I just hope when it's my time, and it gets to be time for everyone, that it's quick, clean, and painless, and that it's, you know, the way he would have probably, if he'd had a say in it, wanted to go. I remember so clearly, some people don't remember, that he did college basketball games while he was working for the White Sox on WFLD.
Mm.
And he wouldn't just sit there and kind of half-step through it. He would tell you why that was a travel, what that player did, what it was in that movement that made it a violation. And he was so great at everything he did.
I appreciate you calling, Valerie, and sharing your sentiments, and couldn't agree more. And we said this throughout the course of some of the earlier shows that we had been doing this evening, that if you got a chance, you get a chance with some of these tributes that are being played to listen to his calls when he was with the St. Louis Cardinals and early years with the White Sox. Just outstanding work as a baseball announcer, just painting a picture of what was happening. And certainly a lot of people remember the last few years with the Cubs and some of the mistakes and the fun with the names and that type of thing. But listen to him when he was with the Cardinals, and a true master professional all the way around. And I think people would agree and get a charge out of listening to him there, as well as with the Cardinals and with the Cubs. One of the things John McDonough alluded to, and I was going back and forth whether or not even to show this or not, kind of feeling kind of funny about it, but went up to, I got a letter in the mail last year from Harry Caray. He said he watched our telecast on the Wednesday nights and watched the post-game coverage and enjoyed our work here, enjoyed watching what I do out here, and it meant an awful lot. And I said to John, is this a real letter? Did it really come from Harry? And he goes, oh, yeah, Harry wanted to get the address at CLTV and send it out to you. And sure enough, I walked into the Cubs convention just last month, and he looked in remarkably great spirits, and the camera was rolling. He's doing an interview, and he saw me, and he just kind of lit up and caught my eye, and I caught his eye, and here's exactly what happened. Take a look. It felt a little bit funny showing to you, but take a look at this.
I want to tell the people is, I rarely write fan notes, but I wrote one to this young man, and I told him what a heck of a job he did, because I know how tough it is to take calls on almost every subject, and they're all got a twist to them. You always got to be a gentleman. You got to keep your temper, and this guy does it very well, probably as good as I've ever seen anybody do. And I'm amazed you're not working for somebody else. No objection to CLTV, but not as many people get to see you as should.
Thanks a lot.
Now, didn't I deliver that exactly the way you wrote it for?
That's perfect, exactly. I hope the bosses are listening.
Well, I hope you get a raise out of it.
Well, I felt funny kind of showing you that, but I just, in this night that we're doing all these different tributes for Harry Caray, I just want you to let you know that mine is real and from the heart, and I did have a chance to meet the man, and that was a special moment for me, being in this town. So it does come from the heart when I sit out here tonight and talk to you folks. We'll take another break. We'll come back. We'll open up the phone lines. We'll go live to Harry Caray's restaurant downtown, get some of the reaction down there as well. Back in a moment, listen to another call of Harry Caray as we take a break.
There's a high fly ball way back. It might be the Cubs win. Cubs win. Cubs win. As Sammy Sosa hits a home run with a man on. 2 home runs today, each with a man on. The Cubs have won the rubber game of the series. Look at Sammy. Look at the team waiting for him.
1964 World Series. Ken Boyer hits a grand slam home run in the top of the 6th inning in Game 4 at Yankee Stadium off Al Downing. The Cardinals are losing 3-0, and Boyer hits a grand slam to win the game 4-3. And at that time, in the 50s and 60s, Harry wasn't just the big, bombastic, colorful personality he has been in Chicago the last few years. He was all that, plus he was a great technical announcer. He never missed a trick. He was right on top of every play. He never made a mistake. And that combination of passion and excitement mixed with a perfect call to play, that's what Harry was. Harry's a legend throughout baseball. I guess St. Louis and Chicago would be the strongholds, but throughout baseball he's a legend because he conveys a passion and love for the game, and that makes people realize, despite everything sometimes, why they love baseball.
And Bob Costas is certainly one man that indeed loves baseball and really loved listening to Harry Caray, as did millions of people out there and everyone just about in the city of Chicago. And kind of a surreal scene downtown at Harry Caray's restaurant. Let's go down there. Mike Monsoor has been there throughout most of the day and the evening covering the events. And Mike, what's going on down there now?
Well, we're hearing a lot of different stories about Harry Caray, Rob, as you've been hearing yourself back there. Many people, as the word is spread about Harry Caray's death, have been coming to Harry Caray's restaurant to pay tribute to him, and they say they want to feel a little closer to him by coming to the restaurant. Now, we do have some information about the funeral arrangements of Harry Caray, and to share that information with us, we're going to turn it over to Grant Porter, the managing director of the restaurant here. And Grant, I know it's still all in the working stages, but what can you tell us at this time?
Well, a lot of people and his friends and everyone wanted to, well, I can say right now that it's going to be in Chicago and it's next week, because the restaurant's actually going to be closed that day for, all of Harry's friends. The city's already pledged total support. Mayor Daley's office, Susan Locke, special events. It's going to be one of the biggest, send-offs ever in the history of Chicago. And I think the family's probably going to, make the announcement soon as the exact
time and all that, but it's going to be late next week.
Okay. And Grant, also, the restaurant is also making plans in honor of Harry Caray. You were talking about some sort of banner that's going to be placed up here?
Yeah, well, tomorrow morning, there's going to be a giant banner up where we used to have the Holy Cow banner that's going to say, Harry, we love and miss you. And it's going to be about probably 50 feet long.
And that's going to be outside the restaurant here?
Right on the side of the building up there until Dutchie tells me to take it off.
No, other things have been planned as well. Each night at 7:30. What can people...
Right, well, from now on for history, because we're planning on being open for the next 10,000 years, we're going to sing Take Me Out to the Ball Game with Harry. We'll have Harry on all the different TVs, and people can sing with Harry for, forever. And we've done that the last 3 nights, and it's very emotional for people because they're reliving all the millions of times people sang it with Harry going back to the White Sox days. So it really just brings a lot of emotion and love back to Harry here every night.
And we're seeing that a lot tonight. The showing of support and just the fans that have come out is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, people from different states, they just want to come sign the books to Harry. Because everyone knows that the family's going to read the book and they're writing notes how much they want to show Dutchie how much how loved Harry is and how much Harry meant to all of them. I mean, baseball and sports in general took a huge blow today because Harry was the ultimate fan, and there can never ever be another Harry Caray again. So this place is going to be a shrine to him. And the Caray family in general is a sports dynasty. I was telling this chef that maybe, because Skip and Chip's real names are Harry Caray, and maybe Harry Caray the 500th will be here in the next millennium, and Chef Abraham, Abraham McGuire the 500th will be his chef. Because they had a special bond themselves with Chef and Harry. Harry could have any chef in the world, and he wanted Chef Abraham McGuire. They took trips together, and something that's kind of funny is Harry would always take off Wednesday, go to the game, and Harry'd always find him and have the cameras on him. And Harry actually made him so famous that people were writing fan mail to Abraham just because, he's a fixture at the Cub games.
Now, I walked past the front desk area here, and the phone is ringing off the hook. People, well-wishers, calling.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just my voice, all our voicemails are just filled with, people calling from all over. Just to say if there's anything they can do. Like, for instance, a lot of people wanting to send flowers, and the family had asked that in lieu of flowers, they make donations to Maryville Academy, because Harry was an orphan himself, and he really believes in Maryville and what they're doing, and he really thinks Father Smith is the greatest.
Yeah, and that's very important because he supported that academy quite a bit.
Yeah, well, since we've been open for 10 years straight, at Thanksgiving we had all 500 kids come over for Thanksgiving dinner. If Harry wasn't here, he'd call in and sing with them, and then we actually give him Christmas gifts. He wanted to give them Thanksgivings that he never had when he was little. It was, the holidays were always not so fun for him, and it really wasn't until these last few years that he would actually get together on the holidays with his family and really embrace it. Before, it was always one of the saddest times of the year because of just his early childhood. But this year, I've never seen him as happy ever, and a lot of people have been saying that he just really was energized, loving life, and it meant a lot to him that Chip Caray was joining him in the booth this year.
So, Grant, I have to say, you and your staff here have been absolutely terrific. Harry I'm sure would be proud.
But, yeah, a lot of people have been wondering, this type of celebration and the time of the family. This is exactly what Harry wanted. Last night, we brought everyone around of Budweiser and on Harry, and we played the old Budman Cub fan commercials, and people were applauding and crying, but just really, that was an emotional experience, too.
We're looking at some of the video right now. You can see the monitor up here. That was a very special moment when we heard everybody sing Take Me Out to the Ball Game.
Yeah, I think a lot of people remember it forever, and I think people that weren't here are really going to regret not sharing the experience with Harry, because it was so emotional. Just people, big 300-pound guys crying like babies. People just got so caught up, and I think they were all reliving all their memories of being with Harry and the experience at the ballpark. Because, when the Cubs were doing terrible, they would still be there just because they wanted to hear Harry sing.
The legend will live on.
Yes, the legend will live on, but there will never, ever be another Harry. But,
the legend will live on here, and I'm sure at Wrigley, too, at the Bricks and Ivy, people are just going to be there, and we'll remember. That's like the two field of dreams. You know, build it, they will come. They want to be with Harry.
And this is a perfect example. They are coming there.
Yeah.
All right, Grant, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. And again, Rob, we are learning a little bit more about the funeral arrangements. Grant the Porter, the manager of Harry Caray, has confirmed that it is going to be held in Chicago sometime late next week. They are working out details with the city of Chicago. It's going to be quite an event. Reporting from Harry Caray's restaurant, Mike Monsour, CLTV News. Rob?
All right, thanks a lot, Mike. Excellent job, as always. And we're going to take a break right now. We will come back, and I promise we'll get to more of your phone calls and comments. You want to make this your show as well, your remembrances, your fondest memories of Harry Caray and what he meant to you. We'll come back with that right after this.
Presidents call you up, you write books, you make commercials. I mean, you're a big man now. But we had fun kidding each other about it.
That's Arnie, who we had on earlier this evening, the longtime director and one of the best friends of Harry Caray, and he joined us in obviously difficult times for him, talking about the passing of Harry Caray. We want to get your opinions, too, your thoughts about what Harry Caray meant to you, and I know he meant so much to so many people in and around the Chicago area, those that knew him and those who knew simply just of him. Let's go back out to the phone lines and talk to Steve in Wheeling. Hi, Steve.
Hi, I just wanted to say that out of all my great memories I have of Wrigley Field, I'm going to have to say Harry's probably in every single one of them.
Really?
And the JM's really going to miss him.
Yeah, and I said this earlier, that, and tell me if this is not true, you would go to that game and it didn't matter if it was 10-0 or 12-0, you were sticking around to the seventh inning stretch, weren't you?
Oh, I stayed to the end, yeah, just because of him.
That's right, just for Harry. All right, Steve, I appreciate you hanging on and sharing that with us. Thank you. Let's get Fred in Calumet City here. Hi, Fred.
Hey, how's it going?
Okay.
I just wanted to say that, I used to be like a real big Sox fan, but, I used to always watch the Cubs simply because of Harry, because, he had a talent and a passion for the game and the way he announced the game. It was so surreal the way he used to, just, make it lively, even when it'd be like 12-0, I remember going to a baseball game, I think it was last year. I remember going to a Cardinals game. It was like cloudy and everything. And they must have hit like about 7 home runs. It was like 12-0 by the 5th inning, and I just stuck around till about the 7th inning just to hear him sing. So it was pretty fun. I mean, I knew the Cubs were going to lose anyway, but I knew that every year he was going to be there, and now that he's gone, it's something to shock to us. But
yeah, he became more beloved than the team he was covering. We've said that, and the fact of the matter is, I mean, this was a team that was, pretty awful to watch the last couple of years, and a lot of people were hearing from. A lot of Sox fans, devoted Sox fans, maybe not Cub fans, but they tuned in and watched because Harry was there.
Exactly. And I think that, you need somebody like him. I wouldn't necessarily say it's marketing. I mean, he's just someone that you want to watch, like Mike. I mean, it's someone you just want to watch. You come to the game every time and you expect that person to be there. And now that he's not going to be there, it's going to be tough. It's just going to be an adjustment that we're going to have to make. And it's going to be a long, long season for the Cubs and everyone else.
Well, we talked to John McDonough, and I'm sure they'll come up with some sort of slogan. I think "Do It for Harry" would be an appropriate one, and if this team could ever, if there's ever a time to pull together and win it for a great reason, I think this would be it this year.
Yeah, he'd probably be turning in his grave if he saw the Cubs win anyway. So.
Yeah, can you imagine that? Cubs win, Cubs win.
Right. It'd be something good, but before I go, I'd like to send my condolences to the Caray family and that my prayers are with them.
Well, very well said, Fred. Appreciate you taking the time to call up this evening.
All right.
You have a good evening. Let's get to Joe in Burbank. Hi, Joe.
Hi, good evening, Rob. How are you?
Good.
I was lucky enough to meet Harry on several occasions, and one of them was in Pittsburgh in 1984, the night the Cubs won the division.
Okay.
We were all there. We were in the Hilton Hotel, and Harry came down, and he bought everybody around the champagne. That's the
champagne,
kind of
not Budweiser. We went for
not
the champagne,
Budweiser.
Huh?
It was champagne.
Oh.
And I also happened to see him the next day, and him and Jack evidently had Jack Brickhouse had been they'd been up late, and Harry.
Imagine that.
And I asked Harry. I said, Harry, can you please tell my family? I said hello, and he was just so gracious. He was just such a wonderful man, and I'm really sorry to see him go.
Well, I appreciate that story, Joe, and I'm glad you stuck on to share that with us. And those are the kind of memories that we'd like to hear tonight on the show. And we're going to extend this until 10:30, because I know there's an awful lot of phone calls and people out there, such as Joe, that want to share some stories just like that one. I appreciate you calling in, Joe.
Thank you, Rob.
All right, thank you. Let's get Tom in Buffalo Grove. Hi, Tom.
Hey, Rob, how you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Well, the one thing I'm really going to miss about him is the link that he had to the old-time baseball.
Yeah.
Where, you know, the game was fun, and he really enjoyed what he was doing. And my main memory of him is at the old Comiskey Park, sitting underneath the announcer's booth and all. And every time in between innings, he would tip his beer to everybody. Everybody would stand up, salute him back and everything. He's got that fishnet hanging out there. And, you know, he's really going to be missed.
For people such as yourself, there's an article, I don't know if anybody, if people have had a chance to pick this up, if you haven't. It's the commemorative issue, the Chicago Sports Illustrated commemorative issue is on the stands now, and there is a piece in here about all sorts of Chicago sports legends, and certainly one of them is Harry. And there's a nice article in here about Harry, and there's some nice pictures, and it talks all about his days with the White Sox, and a picture of him broadcasting from the bleachers, and that same fishnet that you're talking about. Right. They got a picture of him leaning out of the press box with the fishnet and broadcasting from the bleachers. If people that really love Harry remember those days, it's the Chicago commemorative edition of Sports Illustrated. I think you'd get a kick out of that.
You could swear that by the 8th inning he was going to fall out of that booth because, you know, he was just waving at everybody, having a great time, you know. All righty.
I appreciate you calling in and hanging on there, Tom,
hey, no problem.
and I appreciate listening to that story as well. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. A lot more of your calls and comments and remembrances about Harry Caray, and take a listen to one of his calls as well when we come back right after this.
A lot of announcers get their Gucci loafers and their suites in the hotels, and they disappear into the night. And I think Harry, on the other hand, disappeared into the arms of the fans. When he started off in Chicago after leaving the Cardinals, and he was down at Comiskey Park with the White Sox, he would always go out into the bleachers one day a week. And he followed that same custom in Wrigley Field when he went up there to do the Cubs. And I think he talked like a fan up on the air. He would get frustrated when they would lose. He would get upset with them. And the fans related to that. I think it's a very special relationship that he had. A very, very few announcers have ever enjoyed it. And it was very honest. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't an air that Harry was putting on.
Brent Musburger, certainly a man with lots of Chicago ties there on his end. The statement from the Cubs and Andy McPhail: Harry Caray's genuine affection and appreciation for our game and its fans, spanning a period of over 50 years, never likely to be equaled. He will be greatly missed by the Chicago Cubs organization. This is a sad day for the game of baseball. That's from Cubs president Andy McPhail. Want to get your tributes, your fondest memories of what Harry Caray meant to you, so back out to the phone lines. And again, a reminder, we'll be on until 10:30 this evening. Phone lines, I know, are jammed. Just continue to try to get through. We're going to get to as many calls as we can, I promise. Carl in Chicago. Hi, Carl.
Hi, good evening. I like to relay a few thoughts I have about Harry. I had the pleasure of meeting him up close. I performed the music for his 25 years of broadcasting in his restaurant in Chicago. And during the course of the evening, he came over to say hello to the band and to say how much he enjoyed the music. And the second time was at a retirement party for Ryan Sandberg there at the restaurant. He came over and asked how we were doing, which indicated to me that he did remember us from the first time that we'd done a show there a year and a half previous to that. Just a very, very nice person, and I'd like to extend my condolences to his wife and to his family.
And he must have liked you a lot to have you back as he did.
Oh, well, we enjoyed being there, really did.
Well, I appreciate you calling up, Carl, and sharing that story with us. And it just shows how he touched so many people, but not necessarily. You didn't have to go to the ballpark to be touched by Harry Caray.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you, Carl. I appreciate you calling us up. You have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
Let's go to, stick in Chicago, Alex on the line. Hi, Alex.
Hello?
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
We're doing as best as we can. Tough times, obviously.
Okay. I just wanted to make few comments about Harry Caray's death.
Sure.
I wanted to say that I actually have gone to a lot of Cubs games, and I feel really sad about what has happened because I know he's meant a lot in the game of baseball.
Yes, he has.
And I'm going to go to the opening day game this year, and it's going to feel really weird in the seventh inning when he's not going to be able to sing or anything.
Yeah, think of how many people are going to turn their heads and look up into that broadcast booth, and he won't be there to look at. It is going to be strange.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask, what are they going to do in the seventh inning now that he's gone? Is somebody else going to sing?
Well, I mean, that's, I guess that remains to be seen. I don't know. We'll see what the reaction of people is. Chip Caray, his grandson, is going to come on and carry the Caray tradition on at Wrigley Field, and I don't know. I guess that would be up to Chip, talking with some of the companies of the Cubs organization, and see how the fans want to react to something like that. I think anybody else trying to do that, maybe they wouldn't be able to pull it off, but I think if it was somebody that would be accepted and people might like to see it happen, it would be Chip Caray, I think, is the one that, if it is going to be carried on, that tradition, I think Chip Caray should be the one to do it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Alex, I appreciate the call. Thank you very much. John is on the line. Hi, John.
How you doing, Rob?
Okay.
I just want to say that Harry Caray obviously is the greatest.
Yeah.
And then my best memory of Harry Caray is one time last year when they were playing Houston, and the game was about a 15-inning game, and he'd sing the 7th inning stretch twice.
That's right, yeah, with the 14th.
Yeah, obviously that's the best time of all.
That was a good one, yeah.
Yeah, when he could actually take time out there, and he's like, come on, guys, let's do it again.
How about over the last couple of years, whenever Frank Castillo was pitching against Vinny Castilla of Colorado?
Yeah,
that was pretty amusing.
Yeah, he'd kind of get him mixed up, and then also he tried to pronounce Mark Grunzelanek out of Expos.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, Mark Grunzelanek.
We were dreading the fact that the Cubs were actually thinking about pursuing him in the offseason. What if Mark Grunzelanek had become a Cub?
Yeah, that's true.
Mickey Morandini, I think, was going to be difficult enough.
Yeah, that's true. But, yeah, it's obviously going to be not the same without Harry.
I would agree, definitely, John.
I mean, it's going to be real hard when you go to opening day and not find him there.
I appreciate you calling and sharing those thoughts with us, John. You have a good evening.
Thanks a lot. You too.
All right, we're going to take another break. Again, a reminder, we're going to be on until 10:30.
Sammy, they're waiting for him. Woo! Boy, oh boy, I wish more of you were here today.
He didn't have too many of those, unfortunately, to call over the last couple of years, but when he got one, it was a good one, wasn't it? We're remembering Harry Caray here on Sports Page. We'll be with you until 10:30 this evening. We're going to wrap things up on this edition of Sports Page right now, and then we're going to come back at the top of the 10 o'clock hour and continue to take more of your calls and comments remembering Harry. I know the phone lines are jammed. We want to get to as many as we can. The comment from Ed Lynch this evening: baseball has lost a legend. I have lost a dear friend. Our thoughts and prayers are with his wife, Dutchie, and his entire family. Harry's final public appearance here in town was at the Cubs convention just last month. He seemed to be in remarkably good spirits, and of course one of the most famous things that he does at the Cubs convention is his trademark "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," and we thought we'd share that with you here as we wrap up this edition of Sports Page. It's Harry Caray at last month's Cubs convention, the final time in public that he serenaded the fans with "Take Me Out to the Ball Game."
You know, I'm older, and then when you get older, you forget things. I don't know if I can remember the words to the only song I know. So I hope you'll join in and help me. One, two, three. Take me out to the ball. Take me out to the ball. If they don't win, it's a shame. For if around at the old ball game, hey!
On behalf of the family, we're saddened to report that Mr. Harry Caray died this afternoon at 4:10 p.m. from ventricular fibrillation resulting in ischemic encephalopathy. In lay language, that's cardiac arrest with resultant brain damage.
That was the announcement from a spokesman at Eisenhower Memorial Hospital in Rancho Mirage, California, where Harry Caray had been since collapsing late Saturday night while at a Valentine's Day dinner with his wife, Dutchie. Harry passing away at just after 6 o'clock Chicago time. The legendary Cubs broadcaster, 78 years old. Welcome back. We're continuing our Remembering Harry special edition of Sports Page here this evening, taking your calls and comments and tributes to the Cubs broadcaster, Hall of Fame announcer, and really an icon here in Chicago. We also thought we'd share with you a little look back at some of the memorable moments throughout Harry's career in broadcasting, not just with the Cubs, but the Sox and the Cardinals as well. Photographer, editor Dan Lopatowski has put this together with thanks and help from some of the folks at WGN for supplying the video. Take a look at this.
I think if fans like me at all, it's because they can vision themselves doing the game exactly the way I do it.
Here's the pitch. Line drive out is into left field. Hit number 3,000. A run is scored. Musial around first. On his way to second with a double.
When the big hitter hits a home run ball, you're ecstatic. 3 balls and the strike. Long drive. Way back. It might be. It could be. It is. Holy cow. Tuffy Rose has hit 2 of them. Of Don Gooden. Listen to this crowd. When a big hitter strikes out with the bases loaded, you lose the ball game, you're despondent. Bases loaded, 2 out. How can you swing at a pitch that far? When it's a boring game, you let them know it's boring.
You're not falling asleep, are you?
I think some are.
Hey! Me out to
Wow, all of a sudden I hear my voice coming booming back at me, along with about 8,000 others. I said, Bill, I said, what in the world is that all about? He said, Harry, 45 years I've been looking for the right man. He says, as soon as I heard you, I knew you're the right guy. I began to puff up in the flattery, you know. He says, as soon as you start singing, that man sitting wherever he's sitting knows he can sing better than you, and so he joins in. He never dropped one of those in his life. What?
Just did.
You did. Holy cow. How about that? Give well wishes to Bob Skiffington, the Budweiser man from Decatur. Oh, thank you. Come here. Let's do that again. Only you. Only you. Who's that? Do you care? No. Way back it might be. It could be. Cubs win. Cubs win. Cubs win. Holy cow. And I know that it is the fans who are responsible for my being here. I've always tried in each and every broadcast to serve the fans to the best of my ability. In my mind, they are the unsung heroes of our great game. The baseball players come and go, but the game goes on forever. The players, the writers, the broadcasters, no matter how great, all are temporary actors on the stage. It's the game. It's baseball that moves ahead, reaching new heights all the time, generation after generation. And I'm very, very proud of being some part of this important piece of Americana. The drive, way ahead. Could be. It's the top of the wall. Grace on his way to second base. One more biscuit for breakfast, and that would have been out of here.
Welcome back. Remembering Harry, a special edition of Sports Page will be with you until 10:30 this evening, everyone. I know we want to take a lot more of your calls and comments, and I hope you enjoyed that tribute that we just played a few moments back that Dan Lopatowski helped put together. Outstanding job by Lobesy there, and that's with some great memories of Harry Caray through the years, and hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I did. That was tremendous. Let's get back out to the phone lines. Jerry in Des Plaines. Hi, Jerry.
Yeah, hi, how you doing? I just like to say that the sad day in baseball, no one can believe he died. I was his big fan for 3 years, and for 3 years I've been his fan. I've never saw a guy who has such great charisma, like great like quality that he gives like energy to the fans. You know, he provides like
He just lights up a room whenever he walked into it.
Yeah, he gets into the game. You know, he describes baseball like it was his life. You know. I mean, great guy, and I feel sorry for him. It's a dark day in baseball.
Yeah, but you know what? Be happy that he went out doing what he did best. And John McDonough, I think, said it best, that he didn't retire. He wasn't forced out of the game. He was still announcing Cubs baseball right up until the end, and that's what he loved doing. So I think he can be happy in that respect.
Yeah, he's a great guy, and this is a dark day in baseball, but, I mean, Harry is just a great guy for 3 years. I've been his fan, and greatest broadcaster of all time. No question about it.
Well, thanks a lot, Jerry. I appreciate you giving us a call here, and you have a good evening tonight. All right, let's get John in Aurora. Hi, John.
Hey, Rob, how you doing?
Okay.
Yeah, a little sad, and a lot of baseball died today.
Yeah, it did.
One thing I'm really going to miss about Harry was just in this day and age of cookie-cutter announcers and political correctness, Harry always, he told it like it was, you know, even if people didn't want to hear it. He spoke from the heart. He wore his heart on his sleeve, and, you know, the heck with anybody else. You know, he just pretty much, you know, if he saw something, he'd call it out. And I'm really going to miss that frankness and that, you know, that freshness. You know, he put aside all the, the people were downgrading him the last few years, saying, you know, it's time to step aside and stuff like that. And I always, you know, disagree with them people because, you know, Harry just, like I said, he wore his heart on his sleeve, and you got to respect that, and, you know, that's really going to be missed. And just in closing, I'd just like to say, hey, Harry, this buzz for you, buddy.
Well said, John. Well
God bless
said.
you.
Appreciate you calling in. Nicely put. Nice touch there. And really, if anybody I think deserved to dictate on their own terms when and if they wanted to leave and on what terms, it is indeed Harry Caray. Thanks a lot for the call this evening, John. Let's get Rick on the line. Hi, Rick.
Hi. How you doing, Rob?
Okay.
Yeah. Got a couple candles lit here in memory of Harry tonight.
Okay.
And I remember the first time I met him at Butch McGuire's. It was an off day.
Yeah.
And he walks in the bar. Everybody just lights up.
Mm-hmm.
Buys everybody around. Matter of fact, him and Dutchie were there. And I figured, well, I'm going to buy Harry around. And to me, he was one of the sweetest guys. He would come up to you and act like you're like a friend.
Yep.
For years. And it's something that I think I'll never forget.
He related to the common man, to the average fan out there, and I think that's why the fans loved him so much.
Exactly. Even when he would make mistakes on the air.
Yeah.
My dad and I would laugh about this so many times. And that's just the way he was. I mean, he was like you and me, exactly.
And nothing was ever scripted with Harry. He was just true, he was genuine, he was original. Right from the beginning the camera went on, there wasn't anything in front of him. It was always off the cuff, off the top of his head.
Exactly. And even when matter of fact, I used to work like a block or so away from this restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd walk in there and he waved at people coming down there just the same way, like they're old friends every day.
Yeah. And they were, you know,
yeah.
They were to Harry. Those were his friends.
Exactly.
I appreciate you calling up, Rick.
Thank you very much. My sympathies to Dutchie and his family.
Well said. Thank you very much for calling. We're going to take another break. We'll come back. I know a lot more of you folks want to get through and share some of your sentiments and your feelings about Harry Caray, and we'll do that when we come back in a moment.
Here he is.
There's a high drive way back near the wall. Cedeno, home run! Holy cow! Ryan Sandberg.
Welcome back, and I hope you're enjoying some of the calls we've been playing of Harry Caray throughout the course of the evening here. We'll be with you until 10:30, taking your calls and some of your fondest memories. And I know I appreciate you folks calling in. I think this is what separates us from some of the other people that are out there and some of their tributes, but we're letting you pay tribute to Harry Caray and some of your feelings and how he touched you out there. And I know a lot of us want to hear what you have to say, and a lot of people listening. Appreciate you folks calling in and hanging in there with us as we go through as many as we can. Let's get Randy and Waukegan out here. Hi, Randy.
Hi, how you doing?
Okay.
I just wanted to share something. My favorite memory of Harry in the booth involved Jack Brickhouse.
Okay.
I don't know if it was during the '84 season, but I think they're on the road in Pittsburgh, and Jack Brickhouse was in the booth. And I think Gary Matthews happened to hit a home run, and they both did their famous home run call simultaneously. And I don't know if you know what game I'm talking about, but it was the one game that I remember, or the one incident in the booth that I remember most about Harry Caray.
I wish our archives went back that far. Unfortunately, they don't. We've been playing for you tonight. We got the final out when they beat them in Pittsburgh in
good enough.
'84 in that game, and that was a great call by Harry. But I like that one that you just described.
Hey, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
When the slogan that you mentioned, do it for Harry,
Yeah.
do you mean actually win something or get the loss total down to about 90 games?
Yeah. You know, I thought about win it for Harry, but then I was thinking to myself, what if it comes into August and they're way out of it? At that point, they don't have a chance to win it. So maybe just do it is a better, have, 100% effort every time out there for Harry is what I'm looking for.
Yeah, game to game, 100% effort.
Right.
I think that's you hit it right there.
All right, Randy, I appreciate you calling.
Take care.
Good memory. Thanks a lot. Joe in Evergreen Park, how are you?
I'm doing all right.
Okay.
I really don't, I've been a diehard Cubs fan since day one of my life, and I live on the south side, and I'm still trying to figure out, and this was definitely going to be the year that the Cubs were going to do it. You got to look at it this way. We got Mickey Morandini playing second, replacing the great Ryan Sandberg, and now you got this, and now you got to look at this way. Who's going to take me out to the ballpark?
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier, Joe, with some of the other callers, and I guess it would probably fall on the shoulders now of, I would think, his grandson, Chip Caray. And I'm not sure if, I would imagine the fans would still want to see it go on, and I think it's kind of tacky if you piped in Harry singing it or something like that, or if you'd even want to continue the tradition. But because I think you've got a Caray in the booth passing the torch to his grandson, Chip, and I guess ultimately, I guess it's up to Chip if he wants to do something like that, and if maybe he'll ask Dutchie, or maybe I think Harry would want that. Especially, I know he was really looking forward to being able to be in the broadcast booth with his grandson Chip, and maybe the next best thing would be that first seventh inning in that opening day is for him to belt out a case of take me out to the ball game. We'll see what happens. I think there's a lot of things that obviously still need to be decided up until that point. Thanks for the call, Joe. We got another Joe on the line, Joe in Joliet. Hi, Joseph.
Hi, Rob. How you doing? My condolences, first of all, go out to Harry Caray and his family, his entire family. Harry is definitely a genuine person. And I'll tell you what, Rob, Wrigley Field won't be the same without him,
You're right. John McDonough said, Mark Gray said it best, I think. Mark Gray said there was Harry and the rest of us. And that's, I think, what it had come down to the last few years with the Cubs.
That's definitely true, Rob. What I'm saying is that every time, even in the seventh inning, whether you're a Cubs fan, a baseball fan, a Harry fan, I mean, just seeing everybody's eyes light up when the guy, sings, and just the kids' eyes light up and everything, I mean, he was a great person.
Being at that ballpark a number of times, I mean, as soon as that third out happens in the top of the seventh inning, everybody turns around and looks up into the broadcast booth, don't they?
Without a doubt, not even a second guess.
Yep.
And one thing is, I just want to let you know, I got my Cubs jersey out tonight, went and toasted a few buds for Harry tonight, and I am putting on the back of my Cubs jersey, Caray, and I'm going to keep that up on my wall, just to remember him by it.
That's a nice tribute, Joe, and I appreciate you sharing that with us this evening.
Thank you, and thanks a lot.
All right, thank you, Joe. Let's get Ted in Naperville on here. Hi, Ted. Ken, I'm sorry, Ken, how are you?
Sad day.
Yeah, it is.
I just wanted to say that, Wrigley Field just isn't going to be the same. I was talking to my parents, and, they remember where they were and when, when they heard JFK was shot. And I always remember where and where I was when I found out Harry had passed away. It's just truly a sad day.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is something that people will remember an awful long time. They'll remember what they were doing or where they were. I mean, there are probably, maybe one of the three greatest legends here in Chicago. I would think Michael Jordan, Mike Ditka, Harry Caray, I think would be in that company with them, certainly. And I think that, I would agree with you, Ken. I think a lot of people out there will remember this day where they were when they heard the news that Harry Caray had passed away. It happened at 10 minutes after 6, Chicago time. Thanks a lot, Ken. We got to get to another break. We will do that. We'll come back more with Remembering Harry here on our special edition of Sports Page.
There's a drive. Right center field. On the run, on the run, on the run. Sensation of pass. Holy cow. Sammy Sosa to end the inning. Everybody on their feet. Look at that. His players are all there also. His teammates. We'll never forget you, Rhino, the sign says. Boy, oh boy. Does that tell you a story about the man's popularity? Come on, Rhino. Come on. Here he is there.
What a great call, Harry Caray, and I hope you've enjoyed some of the great calls that we've been playing for you throughout the course of this 90-minute special edition of Sports Page. Some quick thank yous I want to throw out there, too, because our departments back here, Sports and News, been really working hard today for this extensive coverage. Joe Liberatore done a terrific job back there, my producer, the voice in my ear throughout this entire day. Director Dave Hobb as well, Cindy here on the floor crew, and everybody else here on the crew that I can't name by name. There's behind the scenes, but help us bring this to you here this evening as well. Again, Harry Caray passing away at the age of 78 today at Eisenhower Memorial Hospital in Rancho Mirage. Funeral details are still pending, but it will be sometime next week, and it will be here in Chicago for that. We're going to leave you right now with a last look back at his career. And again, baseball in Chicago has lost a legend, and our thoughts and our prayers are certainly with Harry Caray and his entire family. Good night, everyone.
Cubs win! Cubs win! He struck him out!
In a world of cookie-cutter sportscasters where every voice sounds practically the same, Harry Caray has been a breath of fresh air. From his trademark holy cow to his oversized glasses, Harry had become an icon in Chicago. More beloved than the team he covered, the hapless Cubs. Fans would come from far and wide each summer to Wrigley Field, and no matter the score, nobody was leaving before that seventh-inning stretch.
On 1, on 2, all right, Gary, on 3. Take me out.
Harry began his career in 1945 with St. Louis and served as the Cardinals announcer until 1969. In 1971, he came to Chicago, spending 10 years with the White Sox, often broadcasting games from the bleachers. For the past 16 years, he's been the voice of the Cubs, and it was Harry who was at the mic in '84 when the Cubs finally had something to celebrate. Inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1989, Harry had cut his workload in recent years. Following a stroke, he hardly ever made road trips. This was to be a special year in the broadcast booth for Harry, passing the torch to his grandson Chip, who will be joining the Cubs broadcast team. At his most recent public appearance, last month's Cubs convention, 78-year-old Harry was in great spirits and, as always, was thinking of the fans first.
You know, I can't get over this big crowd. I say that every year, every January, and it's amazing. There's no better, more loyal fan in the world than you guys, the Chicago Cubs.
For more than half a century, Harry Caray has made listening to baseball games fun.
High fly ball, way back, might be. Good, it is! Holy cow!
Here's a look at the community council.